Hey, welcome to the Clawfee house. I'm Buttons. Today we'll be going over some basic animation in ClipStudio. Alright, let's get into it. Well, kind of got what we need for the gist. This is kind of where this is where I'd say the sketch of the animation is done. The gist is done. After this, it's kind of busy work. It would be going over these lines, cleaning them up, making it look nicer, and then going under those and adding color to every frame, which is all individually really easy to do because all I gotta do is go to this frame and be like, all right, we'll just grab this darker pencil and just trace these lines. It's very simple and easy to do, but it can be tedious. This is the part where you might throw on some kind of show or I'm drawing on the wrong layer. I noticed it because I went to go erase this to sharpen it out, and I realized there's still pencil underneath. Whoopsies. I'm on the reds layer because it's still selected on the same layer I was last time I edited the layer. So I need to go to each layer before I forget and change the active drawing layer for it to the sketch layer. There we go. Now we're not on the reds anymore. When I tap between them, it automatically goes to each animation cell's sketch and not the red. One of the things about this first frame is his eyes are pretty thick. That's good. Yeah. One of the things that I won't use this darker pencil for are soft color changes, like between his gray fur, which will be here, and his dark gray fur here and his light gray fur here. So for this around his mouth, I'll use that same sketch pencil and just go over it again. For most things, though. I'm not sure about this one because I don't know exactly how I want to do this thing off his lip, so it can kind of be a little less committal and just kind of use the regular sketch pencil to do that. And that's how I'll do it for the other layers. It can be really easy to get up on the wrong layer, especially when you're in this grinding phase, because it can be pretty boring. Gotta have patience. All right. That took a while, but the more this gets done for each subsequent layer, the faster you will kind of get. That's why I tend to like to do the sketches for these animations first, get them all done, and then I can say, all right, I'm going to do the cleanup now. So I don't have to keep switching tracks between what I'm doing. The beginning phase where we were doing all those frames was really mentally active. Like we're really thinking about things. This is the part where I deliberately don't want to think about things. I don't have to keep changing tracks. I want to stay in the same mindset. And there is no particular order I'm doing things in here. I am just doing whatever I'm feeling like my wrist would love to, whatever arcs my wrist can find, they'll make doing this easier, they'll go for that first. Sometimes I'll settle into a groove where I do the same order of things over and over. Like I'll do his arms first and then shoulders, neck. By the time we're done with this, it'll look nice and clean. What did I do here? I didn't really do much with this. I'll just go over it again with a sketch pencil. Gonna round this out so it's about the same thickness all around. I didn't do that here. Let me do that. We're about halfway done with this step. Oop. Shaky hand. Two more frames. No, I'm not doing that. And one more frame left. The more I did this by hand, the more I understood why a lot of animation I see uses uniform thickness lines. Because if you allow your lines to have different amounts of weight in the animation, they can really shift around and become harder to manage. Because like between the frames, the thickness might vary a lot, and then you have lines that go from super thin to super thick, and then it's really distracting for people looking at it. Yeah, it looks fine. Here's too round. There we go. Okay. Looks like we're bugged in, so I can see what this looks like now. Frame 1 still stands out a little bit because it's got a lot of rough pencil lines and stuff, but everything here looks more cohesive. Looks like it's part of the same drawing, same animation generally. I will do some cleanup on frame 1, our original sketch. Go in with these darker lines. And I'll do a lot of erasing as well. Actually, I'm gonna go in with my darker pencil here. Fix that up. That part was bulging out. All right. Well, these little like smoky looking pencil lines because of the texture of my sketch pencil. Just stray marks here and there that we can get rid of. Little things like that. And the less noise you have going on, the better. Best to like know exactly what every little line is. At least that's how I go about it. Because otherwise lines will just kind of pop into existence and then pop out of existence. You know, like these right here. Don't like those. Some things I can overlook, others I cannot. If I'm ever not sure, I'll just kind of play the animation and see if it looks awkward. The problem is like sometimes I'll just be staring at that one detail and be like, can I see it, period, when I do the playback, when it's like, if I did that for everything, then it would take forever to animate. Just more like, do I think someone will notice? How many corners can I cut, you know? There we go. I wonder how this is gonna look. This is a little thick down here. I don't like that. Oh yeah. Very cool. An example. I don't think anyone will really notice, but his ears are doing some weird stuff. Like, look at this. It's kind of thickening out sometimes, bulging and then going thin. And over here, it looks like it's kind of wiggling, but it's like, we're not really going to worry about that because I don't think people will really point that out.
Yeah. It gives like life to the...
Yeah, I think that's true. Yeah, I think it gives it some organic nature. Now, the only step left, assuming we're not shading this, which didn't have any plans to, but could. Only step left is I'm going to make a color layer in each of these animation folders. I'm just going to call this color. Go to edit copy. I don't have anything selected on the drawing, just the layer, like the that I'm on, and if that's the case and you go to edit copy, it'll copy that layer. So I can go here, edit, paste. There's nothing on the color layer, so it's just coloring the word copy, or copying the word color, and then we're pasting it in. And I'm making sure that it's going underneath the sketch. And I'm making sure that on each layer, I'm actually selected on the color layer, because we don't want a mishap like we had before where I was drawing on the red layer. I call it red instead of blush or whatever, because there might be multiple things that are red. So, and I will usually do them on the same layer to simplify layering. Like similar to how I might call something a layer like light, even though the light in question might be different kinds of light. It could be soft airbrush light. It could be anything, like hard light. If you're enjoying Artist Hour at the Clawfee House, sign our guest book in the comments. The Clawfee House staff love hearing from you. Okay, so I got my character reference here, color picking reference, so I can quickly grab colors off of here and slap them into the animation. Frame 1. Just gonna trace the edge. There's a cat outside the window. Larger brush. Just tracing the edge. We can go outside, it's fine. And what I'm doing is I'm putting down whatever I consider the base color for this character, some flat base color, and then we'll go in and sort of change the colors of the layer based on that base color. We'll see what you see what I mean. I don't need this little window on the side. I can get rid of that. We're just gonna throw in his base color. This will actually go faster than the cleanup stage. So it usually goes faster than the cleanup stage, because I already have my colors ready to go. Sometimes I can, when I get really good, I can do these edge tracing things without pulling the pen up from the tablet. Not that I'm trying to do it as a fun challenge or anything, but it's more like it's faster. And sometimes it works. Oh. Went outside his ear a little bit there. I went over here a little bit. Don't like that. I just get the edges and then bucket fill. There are other tools you can use to do this. This is just my preferred because it's like it feels like manual as opposed to the others, which can be like automatic. And I've tried them and they work to different degrees. If I were using something more like a lot cleaner lines that didn't look sketch pencil-y, then I could probably use something more automatic. And by that, I'll show you what I mean. It won't take long. Grab the color black, and if I like close this in right here, This is now a closed shape. Like there are lines along the edge and everything. Let's see. There's this tool, enclose and fill. It will enclose and fill based on whatever the reference layer is. If I go to the sketch layer of the cell and say, this is the reference layer, go back to color, I have my gray color, and I can just kind of draw around like a lasso tool. It will enclose upon this like a shrink wrap, and then just fill it in with color. Got this part up here. It didn't get this down here. It must have considered some of this to be not closed in somewhere, and it didn't. But the mouth it did. But you can see it's like weird because it didn't actually fill in on the lines. So it can be kind of finicky. So at least with this brush, if I had, like I said, if I was using more solid lines and not like a smoky looking sketch pencil, then it might come out cleaner using that technique. Before I forget, I'm gonna unreference that layer just in case I do something later that uses a reference layer. Reason I'm using the sketch pencil, I like the sketch pencil. We have all of our base colors. If there were multiple characters, they would have different colors of their own that I use to represent them. Back to my little color reference thing here. Each of these color layers I'm going to go over, and I can do multiple things. I can lock the transparency and then just draw over it, which is what I'm going to do here because it's the simplest thing to do. Or I can make a dedicated layer for secondary colors and then set it to only draw on this base color layer or wherever it has pixels. So I'm going to grab his white for his mouth and the pink for his ears. Yep, and I'm just going to go over this. Pink for his ears and his nose. So I can draw over this. And then I'll end up going over this later and adding other things like nose, and I'll get to his mouth in a bit. Let's see, is there anything else that's white here? No. But his ears should be pink. Okay, I have this right here is for his mouth. I have colors for like whatever I need on standby. I can just tap in there and it'll grab the color for me. And I have this other little off-white color I can use for his teeth. And we can decide on the color for his headphones. I don't really know what kind of color they might be. Maybe I can reuse a color like the darker blue of Milo's cheeks and see how that looks. If this doesn't work, then I can do a kind of bucket fill to replace the color. Since everything I'm doing here is the same color, it'll just replace whatever's on that layer. I like that. Maybe we can use the other blue from Milo as the inner color of this earmuff. I don't know, it might be a little bit too much of a reference. I don't know. I don't know, I like it. Any other colors I could use? Maybe some of the buttons colors actually. Oops. What did the headphones look like with that color?
Yeah. If it had the same color scheme as his jacket.
Right, yeah. Those are his jacket colors, and oh, the set in part could be green, like his button. And his eyes. His eyes are also this color. Yeah, we'll go with this. Okay, so we can reference those colors for the future layers. That's one layer done, and when we finish this process, we'll be done with our animation. It'll be clean, fully colored, not shaded, but shading is its own demon. It is as much of a demon as you want it to be, though. By that, I mean, I see why people do cell shading in animation, as opposed to, or what I mean is like hard edge shadows, as opposed to soft shadows with like gradation and stuff, because, oh, I got the wrong color for his ears. I have the darker pink for his, that was his tongue. There we go, that's the correct pink. I gotta keep this open. You know, my posture was suffering. Sometimes that happens. I end up slouching like a whole lot if I'm not careful. That's why it's good to have lower back support. You notice I color over the lines a little bit, like into the where the tongue is, because if I don't do that and I do it like this, and I do the same with the tongue, it's like there's this in between that isn't colored in, and if I try to color it in, I may end up going over the lines, and you see that some of the tongue color got into the inner mouth, so it's better to just go ahead and color over the lines anyway. And then when you go back over it, you don't really have that awkward in-between that doesn't have the color. Oops, wrong color. We're about halfway done with the color. Sometimes I will forget to do that. And I'll end up having to fix little things here and there. So now that I've mentioned it, I'm making sure I go over the lines a little bit. But only if there's going to be another color that covers it up, of course. I went over the lines a bit here. Oops. Forgot I'm on one layer. I need to draw over it with the original fur color. I went to go erase it because I forgot that my colors are on one layer and they're not, the secondary colors are not on their own layer, which is how I would normally do it. Just for, it's better if I'm doing a whole lot of stuff, but I'm not doing a whole lot here, so I can make it simpler and just do it on one layer. All the colors, one layer. It's less I have to keep up with. Of course, that's not a hard and fast rule. I know people who make a ton of layers, and I know people who hate that, and they have like 3 layers and will go no further. And I don't understand, because I make a bunch of layers. I need everything organized, usually. I went over a little bit right here. Oh, aha, caught myself. I almost erased. Don't want to do that. Oops. One more layer. Then we'll be done. And what's nice about this is, worst case scenario, if I thought I could make the background transparent, but I actually can't, then for whatever reason, you can export all the frames as an image series. You can make them all PNGs with their transparent backgrounds. So you could like animate them somewhere else if you wanted. I have a lot of practice hitting undo in my art program. It is probably the #1 command that I use, most used. Probably the second most used would be hitting the save. I spam the save button. It's a good practice. All right, I'm gonna make the background transparent just to be sure. There we have him bobbing his head, listening to music. This can be sped up. We could make him really rock and roll. Let's see. I don't often mess with this setting much. Not playback setting. Timeline, change frame rate. If we make this number go higher, then it'll move faster. It also looks smoother because the frames are played closer to each other in time. There's less space. Another thing you can do, we're back to normal, I hit undo. Another thing you can do is move the layers down here, these cells closer together. I have like frame and then empty, empty, frame, empty, empty, frame, empty, empty, frame. It goes like that. So I could space it closer so that it's like frame, empty, frame, empty. Just gonna do that. And then put the end of the animation right there, and then we'll see what happens now. It's a little faster. Might be a little too fast for what we're going for. I'll just hit undo. Get it back to normal. All right, there we go. There we have it.